Sometimes life changes in a single moment, an accident, a chance encounter, or a twist of fate that shifts the path you thought you were on forever. For me, it happened on a summer afternoon by the lake, when a stranger saved my younger sister's life and, without even realizing it, changed mine to. My sister Lily had always been the adventurous one. At only 12 years old, she was fearless. The kind of girl who climbed the tallest trees, raced down the steepest hills, and dove into water without hesitation. That day, the lake was crowded with families, kids laughing, and boats gliding across the surface. I sat under the shade of a tree with my book, half watching Lily splash around near the dock. My parents had trusted me to keep an eye on her, and though I reminded her to stay close, I knew she'd push the boundaries. That was who she was. I don't know when exactly it happened, only that one moment I looked up and she wasn't where she had been. Panic seized me as I scanned the water, searching for her small frame. And then I saw it, her hands flailing, her head dipping under the surface. She had gone too far, and she was drowning. I screamed her name and ran, but before I even reached the edge of the dock, someone else was already there. A boyno, a young man, dived into the water with powerful strokes. He reached her within seconds, pulling her head above the surface and swimming back to shore with a strength and urgency that made my heart race. By the time I knelt beside them, Lily was coughing, water spilling from her mouth as she gasped for air. The boy stayed calm, speaking softly to her, keeping her steady until her breathing slowed. Relief crashed over me so hard I could barely speak. "Thank you," I whispered, my voice breaking. "You saved her life." He looked up at me then, water dripping from his hair, his chest rising and falling with exhaustion. His eyes met mine, and for a moment the world fell silent. Something about the steadiness in his gaze, the quiet strength he carried, struck me deeply. He gave a small smile and said simply, "Anyone would have done it." But I knew that wasn't true. Dozens of people had been nearby, and none of them had moved. Only him. His name was Noah. He was 22, a college student, home for the summer, working part-time at the marina. Over the next few days, our paths crossed again. He came by the house to check on Lily, bringing her ice cream and making her laugh about how she owed him a life debt. Lily adored him instantly, and I found myself watching him with conflicted feelings. Gratitude, admiration, and something else I was almost afraid to name. At first, I tried to push it aside. I was 26, old enough to know better than to let emotions cloud my judgment. He was younger, different, and someone I barely knew. But every time he came around, the pull grew stronger. He was kind in ways I hadn't seen in years, thoughtful without trying to impress. He talked about his dreams with an openness that reminded me of who I used to be before life wore me down, with responsibilities and disappointments. But where there is attraction, there is also conflict. My parents began to notice how often he visited, how Lily's excuses to invite him over became more frequent. My mother pulled me aside one evening, her voice firm. "He's a good boy, but don't confuse gratitude with love. Don't make this complicated." Her warning echoed in my head, but my heart refused to listen. One night, the three of us sat on the porch, Lily between us, as the crickets sang in the distance. She eventually grew tired and went inside, leaving Noah and me alone. The air grew heavier with every passing second. Finally, he broke the silence. "You look at me like you're afraid of something," he said quietly. I swallowed hard, my pulse quickening. "Maybe I am." "Why?" His voice was calm but insistent. "Because you saved my sister," I whispered. "Because I owe you so much. And because I don't know if what I'm feeling is gratitude, or something else." He leaned forward slightly, his eyes never leaving mine. "It's not just gratitude. I feel it too." The words hung between us, dangerous and undeniable. But life is never that simple. Rumors began to spread. Small towns always notice when something unusual stirs, and whispers about our growing closeness reached my parents. My father confronted me, anger and disappointment etched on his face. "He's too young. You're being reckless. Do you want to ruin his life and yours?" The suspense of living under constant scrutiny became unbearable. I avoided Noah, hoping distance would kill the feelings, but it only made them stronger. Lily, innocent and unaware, kept asking why he didn't visit anymore, why I seemed so sad. I couldn't explain to her that the man who had saved her life might also be the one who destroyed my carefully built world. Weeks passed in silence until one evening, as I walked home from the store, I saw him waiting under the streetlight. My heart leaped and sank all at once. "We can't keep doing this," I said before he could speak. His expression was pained. Do you really believe that? Or are you just scared of what people think? I didn't answer, because I didn't know. The truth was, I was terrified of my parents' judgment, of the age difference, of the possibility that what I felt wasn't real. But looking into his eyes, I also knew I had never felt this intensity with anyone else. That night, I made a choice. Not to throw caution to the wind, not to run away in some reckless romance, but to give us a chance. Slowly, carefully, away from the gossip and the scrutiny, we began to see each other. Not often, not extravagantly, but enough to know the connection wasn't an illusion. Every conversation deepened the bond. Every moment together strengthened the truth neither of us could deny. Lily eventually figured it out, clever as she was. One evening she grinned at me and whispered, "You like him, don't you?" I blushed, but her smile told me she wasn't angry. "He saved me," she said softly, "but maybe he saved you too." Her words hit me harder than anything. In the end, it wasn't just about a rescue at the lake. It was about the way one act of courage revealed something I had been missing for years. A reminder that love isn't always neat or expected, that sometimes it comes wrapped in complications and fear, but that doesn't make it any less real. From hero to lover, Noah had changed everything. He had saved my sister, yes, but in doing so, he also saved me from a life of safety without passion, from settling for less than what I deserved. Our story wasn't easy, and it wasn't simple, but it was ours. And sometimes, that's all that matters.